Hello, welcome to your Algebra 2 5.3 lesson. Today we're going to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. So obviously your objective for today is that you're going to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. So I'm going to show you a couple of different formats for addition and subtraction and multiplication. I'm not going to require you to be able to do both formats. You can, on rounds and tests, you can choose whichever format you find most comfortable. Okay, so adding in vertical format, we're going to add 2x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 9 and x cubed plus 6x squared plus 11. Okay, so vertical format means you're going to line up like terms vertically from the two polynomials. And say you write the first one on your first line of work. So I've got the 2x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 9. Notice it's in standard form. And my second one's in standard form, so that should make it really easy to line up my terms. So I write the x cubed term right underneath the 2x cubed, and then plus 6x squared right underneath the negative 5x squared. I don't have a linear term, an x term, so I skip some space, and then I put the plus 11 right underneath the minus 9. And then I just add up vertically. 2x cubed plus x cubed is 3x cubed. Negative 5x squared plus 6x squared is x squared. 3x plus nothing is 3x. And negative 9 plus 11 is plus 2. And boom, you're done. Your answer's right there on the bottom. Now, the one drawback there is sometimes that takes up more space than adding horizontally. So let's refresh your memory on adding horizontally. You just write down the two polynomials that you're adding together, so 3y cubed minus 2y squared minus 7y, that's our first polynomial, plus negative 4y squared plus 2y minus 5. And then we just add like terms. So we go ahead and we have 3y cubed. There's not a y cubed term in the second polynomial to add to it. So then we move over and we write down the negative 2y squared, and then we look and we're adding plus negative 4y squared, so that's the same thing as just minus 4y squared. Then we move to our y terms, negative 7y and then plus 2y. And then we look, there's no constant term in the first one, but there is in the second one, so we just write that down, so minus 5. So now we just combine like terms. So we've got 3y cubed, and then negative 2y squared minus 4y squared is negative 6y squared. Negative 7y plus 2y is negative 5y, and then we have our minus 5. And we're done. So on rounds and tests, you get to choose which way you want to actually work out the problem. I don't care if you prefer vertical or horizontal. Either one is fine. Let's do subtraction. We're going to subtract 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus x plus 7 from 8x cubed minus x squared minus 5x plus 1 in a vertical format. So make sure you're reading this really carefully because we're subtracting that first polynomial from the second one. So the second one gets written on top. And so we've got 8x cubed minus x squared minus 5x plus 1. And we're going to subtract from that the 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus x plus 7. So you go ahead and align the like terms while it's still written as subtraction, but then we're going to go ahead, the way the book refers to it is then add the opposite of the subtracted polynomial. I like to think of it kind of as distributing that negative, that minus. And so you're going to end up with the same values on top, so 8x cubed minus x squared minus 5x plus 1, but on the bottom, when we distribute that minus, or if you want to think of it as adding the opposite, whichever one, that's fine, you're going to get negative 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus x minus 7. All the signs change on the subtracted polynomial. So 8x cubed minus 3x cubed is 5x cubed. Negative x squared minus 2x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 5x plus x is negative 4x. 1 minus 7 is negative 6. And so your answer is 5x cubed minus 3x squared minus 4x minus 6. Okay, now we're going to subtract in the horizontal format. We're going to subtract 5z squared minus z plus 3 from 4z squared plus 9z minus 12. And we're going to do this in a horizontal format. So we're going to write the opposite of the subtracted polynomial and then add like terms. So first thing you do, just write down your problem. You're doing 4z squared plus 9z minus 12. And then we're going to subtract from that 5z squared minus z plus 3. Okay, so they call that adding, write the opposite of the subtracted polynomial, then add like terms. I really kind of like to think of it as distributing that minus sign to all the red terms there, all the terms in the second polynomial. So you just rewrite the first one, 4z squared plus 9z minus 12, and then we distribute this minus sign. So we have minus 5z squared minus negative z is going to give you plus z, minus positive 3 is just going to give you minus 3. And now we combine like terms. So 4z squared minus 5z squared, 9z plus z, negative 12 minus 3. So that gives you negative z squared plus 10z minus 15. Okay, we're going to look at multiplying in vertical and horizontal format, and then that'll be the end of video 1, and then we'll come back for video 2 where we'll look at multiplying 3 little binomials together and then some special product patterns. Okay, so we're going to multiply negative 2y squared plus 3y minus 6 and y minus 2 in vertical format. Then we're going to come back and multiply a couple of other little polynomials in horizontal format. Okay, in vertical format, you just take the first polynomial, negative 2y squared plus 3y minus 6, and you make sure it's in standard form. And then you do times, and you write your second polynomial, and you make sure it's in standard form. And then the first thing you do is the rightmost term in the second polynomial, you multiply by each term in the first polynomial. So we do negative 2 times negative 6 is plus 12, negative 2 times 3y is negative 6y, and then negative 2 times negative 2y is positive 4y squared. Okay, then you're going to come back and you're going to do the same thing with the next term. So the next term to the left. So you start with the rightmost term and then you go to the next term. So y, you're going to multiply y by each term in that top polynomial. So you're going to multiply negative 2y squared plus 3y minus 6 by y. Okay. So y times negative 6 is negative 6y, so you line that up right underneath the linear terms there. And then y times 3y gives you positive 3y squared, so you write that in the column for the squared terms. And then y times negative 2y squared is negative 2y cubed, so we've got to create a new y cubed column. No big deal, just keep going to the left, so negative 2y cubed. And then you just add up the two products. You combine like terms. So you get 12. Negative 6y plus negative 6y is negative 12y. 4y squared plus 3y squared is 7y squared. And then nothing plus negative 2y cubed is negative 2y cubed. And if you look, it's all simplified. There's no more like terms to combine, and we're done. All right, now we're going to work one horizontally. So we're multiplying x plus 3 times 3x squared minus 2x plus 4. So this is just going to be the repeated distributive property. So you're going to take the x and distribute it to each term. Then you're going to come back and take the 3 and distribute it to each term. So we've got x times 3x squared minus, because there's a minus right here, x times 2x, and then plus x times 4. Okay. We've run out of terms in our second polynomial, so we come back and pick up the second term here. So we're going to be multiplying, since this is a plus, we're going to multiply by positive 3. So we're going to have 3 times 3x squared, and then minus, because there's a minus right here, 3 times 2x, and then plus 3 times 4. Okay, so that gives us 3x cubed minus 2x squared, and then we have another x squared term. Let's say 3 times 3x squared is going to give us 9x squared. And then 4x, go over here and pick up our minus 6x, and then plus 12. So that gives us 3x cubed plus 7x squared, because negative 2x squared plus 9x squared is 7x squared, minus 2x, because 4x minus 6x is negative 2x, and then plus 12. All our like terms are combined. We're in standard form, so we are done. That is our product. Okay, so we're going to save this one, the multiply 3 binomials, for video 2, and then we'll look at some special patterns, and we'll look at an example using the special patterns. Okay, guys, see you in a minute in video 2.